So, listeners, viewers, Insomniac, those leaks are just getting worse and worse and worse. We're hearing about the Wolverine footage coming out, and we're hearing about information detailing the difference between game sales before and after PS Extra. It's all information that maybe Insomniac probably don't want you to see, but it's out there now and everyone can sort of Google around and see that. But I'm putting out there to you guys, ignore it. There's no point in spoiling what Insomniac have got cooking for us in the future. Now, they've put out a big post over on Twitter. I'm not going to read it. You all can go away. You can Google the Insomniac Twitter page and you can read through their kind of admission to this happening, which is quite refreshing, really, to sort of hear this. You know, they're under pressure from everybody sort of seeing behind the curtain, and they're just kind of saying, yeah, it's happening, but we're doing our best to sort of prevent it going any further. Now, just to go a bit further on this, we have had a listener question, and this doesn't actually come from Mulewn. This comes from Mulewn. Is that how we pronounce his name? I know we got it right a couple of episodes ago, but normally I'm pretty bad with names. Spencer, raising his hands.
Mulewn.
You
got it right.
Mulewn.
Yeah, Mulewn.
Let's stick with Mulewn then. Okay, guys. And I'll read this one verbatim. No idea how you're all handling it, but what do you think of Insomniac being a Marvel Studios now? I'm kind of underwhelmed a bit. Video games are at their best when they're doing a new IP, in his opinion. So what he's saying, guys, is that what do we think about Insomniac being pigeonholed now for the future, just doing Marvel games? And he's a bit underwhelmed by it. And he believes that they're at their best when they're creating new IPs and bringing those excellent experiences to us video game players. How do you feel about that? Now, I'm going to come over to Lewis first, purely because you're a guest of the show and we want to put you on the spot. So, Lewis, how do you feel about Insomniac?
Well, there is a rumor. Well, are we talking about the spoilers at all? Because it's not all Marvel games. There is whatever game in there that's not Marvel.
What I would do with this one, Lewis, is probably just try to avoid the spoilers. We can talk around them, but I wouldn't mention them specifically by name. That's what I'm doing on my approach here. I never want to, highlight the issues that the video games companies have with these hackers and overstep the barrier, really. It's out there for the world to see, but I don't want to be the one promoting it.
Fair enough. All I was saying is that there's one game on that list that's not Marvel, so it's not all Marvel, but it is majority Marvel, to be fair. I mean, I like the Marvel games. As I said, Spider-Man 2 is my favourite PS5 game, so I'm down for more, I suppose. Maybe they can get rid of Mary Jane for the next one, but and it'd be a bit better. But there is one thing I wanted to talk about in the leak, and I'm not sure, and it's not really that much of a spoiler. But it was a little thing I wanted to talk about, is that they were going to break up one of their games into 3 parts. That they were going to have a part 1, a part 2, and then a multiplayer, and sell them as 3 separate games. Like, I'm not a fan of that. Like, what do you guys think of that?
I think for me, and not so much sticking to just what you say in terms of the splitting up part. I think for me, I was really saddened by this list, and not because it kind of takes away a lot of the fun, for me, and especially for me. Like, let's be real. I've been wanting Resistance for a long time. I joked about it in the last episode, and I was very much tongue-in-cheek, right? Spencer's cracking up. I was very much tongue-in-cheek on the last episode, but I was genuinely gutted to realise that, actually, no, we're not going to get Resistance again. The possibility of that being spoiled for me and learning what they're going to do until, 2028 or whatever, kind of sucks. Because that takes away everything we got. Now, whenever we go into a Shag, Marry, Kill, or we go into a prediction, we can't make something to say, oh, they're going to release this game because now we know it's going to come out, right?
But you say that 2031 is your year.
Yeah, 2031 Resistance, baby. Resistance 4, baby. Exactly. I've seen the leaks, and I appreciate what Phil said there in terms of not sharing it around. I think that's probably the best approach. And I think that by not thinking about it, I may forget, which is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that it just slips my mind and I get surprised by stuff. Personally, Lewis, I think with how Insomniac handle their games, right? If they've decided to split it up into three separate pieces, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. Because as far as I'm concerned, every single game they produce is bang for their buck. People say, like, Spider-Man 2 is 20 hours and you've fully completed it. 20 hours is a fucking long time. A game that can't be mentioned is over in 4 hours, right? I played 4 hours worth of content for the game that can't be mentioned 3. Done with it. Even on the longer scale, you're talking, say, the game that can't be mentioned 4. 15 hours, right? Maybe 20 if you're just totally gash. Okay? And we're like, great game length. Maybe a bit too long. People's perception of game length is so fucked, and it does my head in all the time, because people always say about, oh, Baldur's Gate 3 should be sold for £200 because it's massive. GTA 6 should be sold for £7,000 because it's endless. Fuck off. Game length does not equal price. It never has, never will. It's all about in the eye of the beholder. And Insomniac have not proven to me that I should distrust them. I think, for me, they've got enough proof in the pudding from everything they've done all the way back since the PS2 generation, or even PS1 if we're taking it back to Spyro, that whatever they put out is quality. It's quality first. So if they do think about separating a game out to 3 separate slots, there's no reason to doubt why they've made that decision. And that's as far as I'm concerned with it.
To be devil's advocate with this one, though, the only thing I would say is I really enjoyed Spider-Man 2, but once I got the platinum, there wasn't really anything else I could do. Like, I've literally I've done everything possible in the game. I'm hoping the New Game Plus will be out soon, because they did say that they were going to drop that, but that's the only thing.
That's the point of a platinum. That's the entire point of it, is that you've done everything. It's a badge of honor to say, I've done everything in this game. I've played it in ways that I didn't think I would need to play it. I've done things I never normally would do to be able to achieve that. And that's the point where you delete it off the system and you're done with it. It goes on the shelf. It's a badge of honor. That's the entire point for platinum as far as I'm concerned.
It's not about the length. It's about what you do with it. Just to go back to Mulewn and what he was asking there, and just to add in my 2 cents, I don't feel like Insomniac are purely just becoming a Marvel studio, because as we know, Disney are more willing these days to let other studios have some of the lesser IPs. We've just seen Blade coming out, or announced for a different studio, the guys who did Deathloop. Obviously, we had The Guardians. That wasn't developed by Insomniac. So there are Disney titles coming through, or Marvel titles coming through from different studios. So they don't all go through Insomniac. I just feel with Disney, they have a trusted name with Insomniac because of the pedigree of games that they've put out so far. With Spider-Man, they're all incredible. They're all 9s and 10s out of 10s. So they are just going to be pushing the kind of bigger titles through Insomniac, I believe. But you are going to see a bit more of a spread now across other studios, and it's not purely always going to be Insomniac. I don't feel, though, Insomniac now, they are going to still have some time. Excuse my words. They are going to still have some time to develop those IPs. So we're not going to lose those. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Insomniac are going to become purely Marvel and you'll lose those creative IPs that you're talking about there. I think there's more to come for the future of them.
To be fair, lads, honestly, after listening to all of you giving your points, everything, I completely agree with all of you. There's kind of a lot to talk about here, and I'll go through each of your points individually. So for one, about one of the series being split in 3 ways. As long as the work's in there for those games, it doesn't matter. Look at Final Fantasy VII. Phenomenal. I would have paid more than the 70 quid for that game, and I would pay more for the next part. It doesn't matter. As long as the bang for your buck is there, it's worth whatever. Even if it's only a segment of the game, if the value is in that segment, it's worth what you pay for it. It does not matter. Pay for what you want. If you can't afford it at the time, if you don't think it's worth that amount, wait for it to go down. It will, unless it's on Nintendo. If it's not on Nintendo, you're fine.
Yeah.
Just give it a few weeks, a few months. Play it a bit later. It's fine. In regards to Insomniac's leaks and Mulewn, your question, awful. I hate these leaks. I hate seeing these. But ultimately, Insomniac aren't really one for new IP anyway. They've always been running the same IPs. We've had Spyro, we've had Ratchet, and now they've been given Marvel games. they're not very inventive with their new IPs.
Well, I mean, you got Resistance and Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah, but Sunset Overdrive was a one-off.
Yeah, true.
Massive one-off.
Yeah, true.
And Resistance came and gone.
Came and gone.
It's came and gone.
Oh, mate.
I know, I'm breaking your heart, but it's come and gone.
3 games.
3 games. What's more successful, Ratchet or Resistance?
All right.
Spider-Man or Resistance?
Okay, all right.
Come on.
Yeah.
They're going to stick to their games that they know how to do. And Ratchet is just Spyro, but you're Ratchet instead, going through different worlds. Going through different planets rather than different portals or whatever Spyro does.
Yep.
Same kind of thing. It's just a bit more advanced now because we're a bit in the future. Them not doing new IPs is fine because they're not really a studio that excels at that. They're good at building on what they already have. That now being Marvel products, honestly, I would be upset if it wasn't Insomniac, who I trust full-heartedly. They have smashed it every time. I imagine they will continue to smash it every time. And these leaks, as much as it might bum you out, seeing game title this, game title that, Street Fighter 6 got leaked like 2 years ago, and we thought, yeah, we expect that, but we didn't think anything of it. As soon as they revealed Street Fighter 6, we were like, holy fucking shit, this game's going to be amazing. Don't just base your opinion on a title on a white screen, on a Word document. Wait till you see the game. Because although it's just a Marvel game, they could add some new twists, new mechanics. They could do so much with these characters and these IPs. It's a shame that all of them are coming from the same tree, but they could branch off in so many different ways.
I think that's a really good point, and that's something that Mulewn, just to double down on this, is that yeah, I am gutted that it is solely kind of existing IP in a way, in that it's the Marvel IP. However, the big differentiator is always going to be gameplay. And with the ones that have leaked, if you've got very different gameplay styles, like Phil, you mentioned about Guardians of the Galaxy earlier, plays very different to how Spider-Man plays, which plays very different from how Marvel's Avengers plays. As long as they make a clear distinction between it, I don't think there's anything to worry about because it will feel like a fresh new experience. And you'll be thinking, God, I can't wait till I can play whatever this game is without spoiling it. Can't wait to play with the guy who shoots lasers out of his eyes, which I'm not going to spoil what it is, but I'm super hyped to see him in this game. All this stuff, right? Wait and see. And as Spence, Phil, and even yourself, Lewis, reiterated, we got no reason to really doubt Insomniac here. I think if they've decided on these IPs and they've been handed to them, they think, yeah, we can write a really good story and we can make this really different from what we've done before. Great. Absolutely fine. Would I like to see them come up with something brand new? Yes.
No, you wouldn't.
However, I'm happy with whatever they bring us because they don't miss. Lewis, do you want to round out this bit before we move on?
Yeah, I just also wanted to say that there was a massive Xbox leaks a couple of months back about where they basically the entire roadmap of Bethesda games was shown as well. And it was obviously it wasn't a hack like this one was, but it was like similar kind of stuff that was shown. But it's already proven out that a lot of that is already changed, and I feel like people shouldn't worry too much because these games are not even some of these games are not even in development yet, and video games get cancelled, video games get changed. There's no guarantee this is going to be the same list of games that's actually going to come out. So they might announce a completely different. They might just say, "Oh, we're DC now. Superman game's coming out next week, like next year instead." Like you don't know, things change, so don't get too. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Completely agree with you there, Lewis. That's exactly the point that I was trying to make earlier. You may have seen the timeline, but ultimately you don't know what else they could be cooking in the background. So possibly there may even be a surprise new IP. We just have to wait and see for that future.